So let me discuss another example of how intra-agency silos can stifle productivity and innovation. In the last several years, the FBI has put an enormous amount of effort and emphasis on developing means of threat and risk-based resource allocation as the basis for more intelligent and intelligence-driven staffing of our 56 field offices across the United States. As an initial step in this effort, the FBI's Intelligence Directorate at our headquarters provided our field offices with new analytical personnel, tools, techniques, and procedures to assess and document our respective field offices' most significant threats and vulnerabilities, and to identify any gaps in our intelligence which might need to be addressed. Know your domain became our mantra, as each field office produced comprehensive domain intelligence notes, or DINs as we call them, threat assessments as probably anybody else would call them, for each major national security and criminal program area of responsibility. Once again, this all made perfect sense and came with the implied promise that special agents in charge in the field would be given added flexibility to push resources toward the most significant threats and gaps identified through better domain awareness. But in many instances, the power of this new domain knowledge was thwarted by our long-established lines and disciplines of program management within the operational divisions at our headquarters. I experienced this firsthand as an agent in charge in the FBI's Las Vegas division prior to my assignment to LA. Using domain and awareness techniques, Las Vegas correctly assessed the oncoming tsunami of mortgage fraud cases that we saw coming over the horizon as the local housing markets began to collapse with the economic downturn. We acted quickly to establish a multi-agency mortgage fraud task force and redirected many of our white-collar crime resources and investigators from other white-collar crime cases to address mortgage fraud. But our efforts locally in Las Vegas weren't going to be anywhere near sufficient to address the number of cases we anticipated that we could initiate. So we began a formal process of requesting additional white-collar crime agent positions from our headquarters in Washington. In the meantime, though, we thought we'd simply realign 2 special agent investigator positions from our organized crime squad to help hold down the fort and supplement the mortgage fraud task force. As soon as our headquarters organized crime section got wind of this, they informed us that we risked permanently losing 2 special agent staff positions if those agents were not working organized crime. So the dreaded silo dragon had reared its ugly head once again. It was clear at the time that FBI had more work to do in aligning our established operational programs with our strategic goal of allowing more flexible and nimble resource allocation to address emerging threats in the field. Well, I'm happy to say that since then we've made significant progress in allowing this kind of flexibility if the redirection of resources can be adequately justified through our threat assessment processes. It so happens that next week, as all FBI special agents in charge from around the country will meet at a senior executive leadership conference, high on the agenda will be a discussion regarding whether it's feasible to provide the agents in charge in our field office with criminal programs staffing labeled only as general criminal. This would allow field office executives to exercise maximum flexibility in applying these resources against the respective criminal threats identified in their domains. Now, the fur may fly over this one, but I believe it's healthy for the FBI to explore new approaches to fighting serious and organized crime. I'll let you know how it turns out. As you well know, criminals and the crimes they commit are ever evolving. We as law enforcement officers need to create ways of measuring success which encourage cross-program collaboration and are less dependent on traditional statistics and program purity. We have to focus on getting investigations done right and less on counting beans and determining who gets credit. The FBI is transitioning, as I mentioned, to a model where priorities are in a large part determined locally by analysis of the domain of each field office, provided they're aligned with our national strategy. The local office might then have the ability to allocate resources to address the specific threats identified within their territory. For this to work, our headquarters program managers have to become more flexible as well, allowing the field to cross program lines to address the most significant threats in their territory. In each of the case examples I spoke of, too much focus on program purity would have stymied successful operations. Bureaucracies are inherently not streamlined, and law enforcement agencies tend to be stereotypical bureaucracies. The crime problems we face ignore our structure. It will not happen overnight, but we must change to meet the challenges we face with the globalization of organized crime. Although we have more work to do, I believe that in Los Angeles we're on the right track in leveraging our own in-house knowledge and expertise against organized criminal enterprises. I encourage all of you here today to look for opportunities to lower barriers within your own organizations that impede the free flow of intelligence and the sharing of expertise in addressing threats from organized criminals and their illegal enterprises. Now, in closing, of course, I'd like to thank all of you for allowing me to address you today. Just a great opportunity to share some thoughts, and it's amazing how much we all have in common. You know, just in some of the conversations in the hallways and corridors, you know, we may be thousands of miles apart, but we're all struggling and dealing with the same kinds of issues. You know, all of you here in attendance represent the remarkable progress of many long years of promoting law enforcement cooperation and collaboration in the fight against organized crime. I'm humbled by the impressive attendance here today of so many dedicated and accomplished law enforcement professionals, policymakers, and our academic and private sector partners from across the country and across the world. Your presence here at this conference and the level of energy and engagement you bring here in honing your investigative skills and sharing your expertise is something you should all be very proud of. And it's frankly something organized criminals should fear. Thank you very much.